Welcome back to Old School Sports and our OOTP 23 playthrough of the Kansas City Royals. We are at the beginning of August, and if the season were to end today, the Royals would be out of the playoffs. We're half a game out of the third wildcard spot, and we are 3 games out of the AL Central. So it's been a very choppy season for the defending champions. Had some injury issues, but everyone has injury issues every year. That's certainly not the excuse. We have made several trades over the last month that hopefully will get us over the hump in terms of getting into the playoffs. In the bullpen, we've added Yon Adon and Sandy Gaston to the bullpen, a couple of solid right-handed arms that we hope will improve our team. And then we also added Sean Murphy in a recent trade. Definitely upgrades us defensively at catcher, although he's probably not going to be as good offensively as Angelo Bolden. And then we added Tim Anderson, who played shortstop for us a few seasons ago, brought him back, and he is now taken over at second base for Ricardo Cabrera. So hopefully those minor additions to the bullpen and then bringing on new players to start at catcher and second base for us, at least over the next couple months of the season, will make a big difference for this team and allow us to get back into the playoffs over these last 2 months of the season. And looking at the injury situation, it's really not that bad right now. It was obviously a bummer when we lost Dylan Cruz at the beginning of spring training for the entire year. He was one of our big acquisitions, actually our biggest acquisition of the offseason, and stunk to lose him, but we did end up making a trade for Jacob Guerrero, who's had a really nice year, hitting .299 with 26 homers and 75 driven in. So he's probably given us about exactly what Dylan Cruz would have, if not maybe even a little bit more. So haven't lost out too much on that, except in the case of money and some prospects. And then Reggie Crawford, about a week and a half ago, began his rehab assignment down in AAA, and you can see he's injured again with a diagnosis pending. He's kind of a 4A pitcher for us anyways. No guarantee that he's going to be on the major league roster after his rehab assignment, particularly with the additions of Gaston and Adon. So obviously don't want him to have a serious injury because would prefer as much flexibility as possible, particularly when we head towards roster expansion in a month. But I don't think the absence of Reggie Crawford is going to have a significant impact on what the Royals are able to achieve this season. One thing that could have an impact on us, though, is the immediate loss of Tim Anderson. Pretty much after we got him, played in 4 games, was 2 for 9, and now out for 6 weeks with bone marrow edema on his knee. So we knew he was wrecked physically, didn't give up too much for him, but obviously would have preferred to have him in the lineup every day rather than Ricardo Cabrera at second base, but that's certainly not going to be possible until maybe the last couple weeks of the season. So Cabrera will likely get his spot back, and probably means we need to bring Sal Stewart back. He just hadn't hit at all for us. You can see 177 batting average and close to 200 at-bats. I guess we could give Rich Alvarado his first shot at the majors. I think we may do that, actually. He's only hitting .276 in AAA, only 5 home runs. Does have 26 doubles and 384 at-bats. You look at his profile right now, though, and he's 60 for contact, 50 for home run power. He's always had that really good gap power. He's also the number 67 prospect in baseball. Sal Stewart's just been such a disaster that I'm willing to try just about anybody else. Honestly, Alvarado's going to be kind of a backup for us, I would think. I would think that Ricardo Cabrera is still going to get the starting job, according to Byron Nichols, and he does. But Alvarado hopefully gets a little playing time at the major league level when there's people needing a day off over the couple of weeks, and we'll see what he can do. Like I said, I don't think he can be any worse than Sal Stewart was, so from that perspective, happy to have him on board. And Reggie Crawford ruptured disc in his back, so he's out for another 6 months, so we just put him on the 60-day IL. Team is still scuffling along, 63 and 58, 3.5 back in the Central, and we're still a half game behind for the wild card. So we're certainly in the mix, but really need to start stringing some wins together here. And another week, another injury for the Royals. Brennan Davis out with a foot contusion for 2 weeks, so we will put him on the 10-day. It's August 14th now. We're still 3 games back in the division, and we're now a game and a half back and 5th in the wild card race. So the season is definitely just slowly dripping away from us. Hopefully we can find somebody to provide a spark to bring up to the roster, because we definitely need something to jumpstart this team. And we're going to bring up Tony Fonseca, who was our international free agent signing 6 years ago. Going to turn 23 at the end of this year. Got his first action in AAA this year. He's hit 262 in 389 at-bats. But we're not really bringing him up for his offense. We're bringing him up for his glove and his versatility. You can see he can play basically any position on the field, except maybe first base. He's 5'11", so he could play there, but wouldn't be optimal. But pretty good infield range and great error, arm, and double play rating, so he can play second, third, and short at a high level. And then he's also got, pretty good outfield range, error, and arm, so he can play any outfield position. So feel like he'd be a good player to have coming off the bench. Not going to get as many at-bats, I'm sure, in the majors as he was getting in AAA when he was playing every day. But would definitely help tighten up our defense, particularly with the fact that right now our backup infielders are Juan Palomares and Rich Alvarado. We don't have a ton of depth behind Cabrera, Whitt, and Lopez at second, third, and short. And I think that Fonseca would definitely help with that, and maybe he can, catch lightning in a bottle and also kind of jumpstart the offense a little bit. And you can see we're actually putting him right in as our starting second baseman against right-handers. So I guess he'll get a little extra playing time, but it appears that Byron Nichols prefers his bat to Ricardo Cabrera's, at least against right-handers. So good to see him maybe getting a little playing time, and I think that glove will help us, and maybe he can jumpstart the offense. Ricardo Cabrera hitting just 223 this year, playing every day, which was part of the reason we brought Tim Anderson back. So I can't say that I'm disappointed to just have Cabrera playing against lefties and to give the chance to Fonseca against right-handed batters. So we'll see if we can get this team right over the second half of August. And even more reason to be glad that we got Fonseca up, although he's 0 for his first 6 at-bats. Starting shortstop Nicky Lopez out with chronic back soreness for 3 weeks. That's obviously not optimal. Our aging team is breaking down in front of our eyes here in August. And we're back to within 2 games of the division, so we're definitely still in the playoff mix. But it's been a much tighter battle than it has been in some recent seasons, and we're tied for the 3rd wild card spot now with the Angels. As I mentioned, 2 games back of the White Sox. Bobby Whitt Jr. having a nice year, 2nd in the league in hitting, 2nd in the league in batter war. Borgman still 2nd in the league in ERA, and Tyler Bosma still hanging on there 3rd in saves. So we've got a few players on the leaderboards this year. Looks like we're probably going to need to bring up another infielder, quite honestly. Fortunately, we're at the point where a lot of our young middle infielders that we've had over the past years are beginning to develop. Obviously, we've already got Alvarado and Fonseca up, and guys like Willy Flores, Aragato Lazioli, and Sal Stewart are potentially in the mix of who we'll bring up to replace Nicky Lopez for a few weeks. And I think in a perfect world, we would have liked to let Aragato Lazioli make his major league debut. He's hit 322 in 317 games, but he's been out with a sore elbow for a while. Still got a couple weeks to go with that day-to-day injury. So we're going to bring up Willy Flores. not dissimilar from Tony Fonseca, who we just talked about. He's got some work to do to continue developing his batting profile, but he has hit .319 in 185 at-bats in AAA. But he's also a very good and very versatile defensive player. So given that we need a shortstop, I think that Flores could be the answer for us. So we're obviously not going to force start him there. It'll be interesting to see who takes over at short. Could be Flores, could be Fonseca, could be Bobby Whitt Jr. Got a lot of flexibility up there in the lineup now, and it looks like Fonseca is going to be at shortstop against both lefties and righties. So not a shock. Alvarado and Flores hopefully can continue to contribute coming off the bench. Alvarado hitting .286 in 14 at-bats at this point. Tony Fonseca, as we talked about, 0 for his first 6, but hopefully he'll get a few more at-bats now. And the Royals finally playing a little better here in the final days of August. You can see we're now tied or I assume we're tied for first, and we're not outright. Actually, we are up outright. We're a half a game up on the White Sox. We've won 4 in a row. They've lost 4 in a row, and the White Sox would be tied for the wild card right now. So although right now we are a division winner, we're only a game away from being completely out of the playoffs. So playing better right now, but still in a fight for our playoff lives, that's for sure. Good news, Brennan Davis ready to come back off of the IL. I think that means that we'll send Flores or Alvarado down. Flores has had 20 at-bats, started 5 games and hitting .400. Alvarado also has hit, well, 345 batting average and 29 at-bats, started just 6 games. He's not quite as versatile defensively, so kind of leaning towards sending him down. I guess we could send down Nazir Muley. He's hit .257 in 140 at-bats for us this year, but Muley we do have to waive in DFA, and he is kind of our backup center fielder at this point to Angelo Velasquez. Obviously, Velasquez, the one who's out there every day when he's healthy, and looks like he's going to be in a battle to hit .300 again this year after winning a batting title in his first full season last year. So he's continued to do the job. But given that we don't have a real good defensive center fielder, I think I'm going to keep up Muley for the time being and send down Alvarado, despite the fact that he has played well for us. He's done everything we would have hoped he could, but getting Brennan Davis's bat back is a more important thing. You can see he's had a nice year for us, 19 homers and 347 at-bats. Has definitely played a lot more than we would have expected him to, driven by some injuries off and on to Velasquez and Junior Marin just kind of fallen off the map this year, hitting just .245 with 8 homers and 302 at-bats. So Brennan Davis has been a nice addition for us. And he will go right back into the starting lineup, hitting 7th against right-handers and batting 6th against left-handers, playing right field for us. And we've made it to September 1st in roster expansion. Taking a look at the standings, we're up 2 on the White Sox now, who have lost 6 in a row. And the White Sox, though, are down 2.5 for that 3rd wild card spot. So, again, if we don't hold on to the division, it's going to be very tenuous as to whether we can make the playoffs or not. So the goal is going to certainly be to hold off the White Sox. You can see we've made up 5 games on them in the last 10, which is really positive. And it's also positive that, we've made it to September roster expansion, so we're going to get to bring some reinforcements up. Taking a look at the injured list, though, Nicky Lopez still out for a week, Tim Anderson 4 games to go. So hopefully we'll get some help in the middle infield in the not-so-distant future. We are going to bring Rich Alvarado back up, but as I just noted, with Lopez and Anderson both close to getting back. Alvarado may not be up for very long, but hopefully can get him a little more playing time. And then I guess we got to figure whether we want to bring a 14th pitcher up. And we got a lot of guys who are a little worn out, but solid pitching staff. Let's take a look and see if those additions to our bullpen have helped get our bullpen away from being 10th or 11th in ERA. Nope, we're still 11th in bullpen ERA, but we have improved to 3rd in the league in runs allowed, 7th in the league in runs scored. So we dropped back a notch in the offensive ratings, but we have improved a notch in the pitching ratings. Definitely, right in the mix of it. You can see we still haven't had a losing record for any month, and August was our best month of the year at 16-11. If we're able to have another month like that here in September, feel pretty good about our playoff chances. And I think I'm going to bring up another everyday position player. The options for our pitching staff to bring up Bob Williams, who's been up and down this year. He's been brutal since we sent him to Omaha. 9 ERA over 12 innings, allowing 17 hits. And you can see he's still got some development to do as far as his stuff, his control, his fastball, and his changeup. I don't necessarily want him learning on the job. Heisel Barrow, another guy who split the season between Omaha and KC. Hasn't been great in Omaha. Has had an ERA over 4 at both levels. And then Jaden Woods, similar, split the season between Omaha and KC. Hasn't been really great at either spot. I think I would lean towards bringing Jaden Woods up if we do need a pitcher. But right now, I talked about Araghetto Lazioli, and he's back from his injury. He's hit .317 in AAA this year. Another player with a lot of defensive versatility, could be a big bat going forward. We're certainly not going to force start him at third base at the major league level ahead of Bobby Witt, although we were trying to get him fully trained up at that position at the minor league level. But I think that, just another versatile player who's really good defensively, can play a lot of different positions, with Flores, Fonseca, Lazioli, and Alvarado. These are kind of 4 infielders who all have been growing up in our system over the last several years. As I talked about, Alvarado, now the 67 prospect in baseball, was an international free agent signing in 2025. Lazioli was a scouting discovery in 2027, the 88 prospect in baseball. Willy Flores, international free agent signing 5 years ago. And then Tony Fonseca was an international free agency signing 6 years ago. So guys who have kind of grown up together in our system over the last 5-6 years, all kind of getting a little action at the major league level. And given that it's unlikely that we'll have Tim Anderson back next year, and we do also have a player option on Nicky Lopez, which we very well could move on from. I think it's good to kind of get a look at, all of these inexpensive and pretty versatile infielders over this final month of the season. And hopefully they can also help guarantee that we make the playoffs. And Tim Anderson is eligible to come back now, so obviously going to have to send down one of the guys we were just talking about. I tend to think maybe it's Alvarado. He's hit .323 and 31 at-bats. It's just he doesn't have the defensive versatility of the others. Willy Flores hitting .364 and 22 at-bats. Tony Fonseca, only $176 and 51 at-bats, but he's the best glove of the bunch. I want to keep him up. And then Lazioli just hasn't gotten much of a chance. He's 2 for 7, but would like to see a little more from him. So I think we send Alvarado back down. I feel a little bad about it, but I do think that Tim Anderson is likely to take over at second base for Cabrera against both lefties and righties. So that's another move that really helps our, hopefully helps our offense. And now particularly with guys like Flores, Lazioli, and Cabrera off the bench, even though Tim Anderson probably isn't as good a second baseman defensively as any of them at 39 years old at this point in his career. We've got a lot of versatility to pinch hit for him and bring in defensive substitutes when needed. And Nicky Lopez now ready to come back, so we're going to have to make another decision on who to send down. Just check the standings quick, though. We're up 2.5 games now on the White Sox, who have just really imploded. And the White Sox actually are up 1.5 games for the last wild card, so it seems like the teams in the American League maybe starting to beat up on each other a bit, with the Rays and the Orioles kind of falling out of it a bit over the last 10 games, particularly, where they're both playing poorly. So feeling a little better that we'll be in the playoffs, but we've got a decision to make. We could, DFA Nazir Muley if we want to keep up all the youngsters, but we're probably a little heavy on the offense right now. Lazioli just 222, but only 9 at-bats. Flores still raking 346 and 26 at-bats, and Fonseca $175 and 57 at-bats. But he's, I don't think, ever going to be a huge hitter at the major league level, but that defensive versatility is pretty valuable. I think we're going to send Lazioli back down. Obviously would like to see more of these guys, but I just don't think he's going to get a lot of playing time, particularly with Lopez back. And interesting, even with Lopez back, Nichols wants to keep playing Fonseca, who's a superior defensive player at this point, even to Nicky Lopez. So love to have a veteran like Nicky Lopez on the team, but I guess he's not the starting shortstop anymore. So as I talked about, we do have a team option for $5.5 million for him next season, $550,000 buyout, given all of the big young middle infielders we have, and the fact that we're a little light on money for extensions for next off season. It's hard to believe right now here on September 6th to me that we're going to be exercising that option. I think we'll most likely be moving on from Nicky Lopez to give some of the youngsters a better chance to get even more playing time next season. But for the next couple of weeks, we are focused on getting this team across the finish line to the playoffs here in 2032, and hopefully Nicky Lopez can help us do that. Another week in the books, 83 and 70 record for the Royals, tied for first in the AL Central now. So the White Sox have caught fire a little bit. They've won 3 in a row, won 8 of their last 10, and there is a 3-way tie for the 2 wild card spots between whoever would lose the division out of the Royals and the Red Sox and Tampa Bay, and are up 3.5 on the Mariners. So the goal is obviously to win the AL Central, to have the home field advantage for that first round of the series. And you can see we're only 2 games behind the Angels for the second best record among a division winner. Yankees and Red Sox are both really strong in the AL East with the 2 best records in baseball, but obviously one of them will be playing in the wild card game. So getting down to the final stages of the season here, looking at the schedule, we've got Tampa Bay. That's a team that we're battling for, and actually it's a pretty favorable schedule for us. All the last games of the year are at home. We've got 3 at home against Tampa Bay, and then we finish with 6 at home against Minnesota. So you can't ask for a better schedule than that. Tampa Bay is one of the teams that we're battling for the wild card spot, and you can see they have won 10 in a row at this point, which has pushed them right back into the race after I commented not that long ago that it looked like them in Baltimore were falling out of things. And then Minnesota, who's out of it, we've got 6 games at home against them to finish up. So really no excuses for the Royals not to get this across the finish line. And as we embark on this 3-game series against Tampa Bay, tied with Chicago, as I talked about, for the division lead, tied with Chicago and Tampa Bay for the 2nd and 3rd wild cards, and up 3.5 on Seattle. So no excuses. Let's see if the Royals can get the job done over these last few days. Not optimal to lose the first game 8-2 and to have Angelo Velasquez day-to-day with back tightness for the rest of the season, basically. That is obviously not optimal. minimal impact on hitting and throwing, moderate impact on running. He's hitting 307 this year for us, but has been banged up a bit. I think we're going to keep him around. I don't want to, really hurt him ahead of the playoffs, but there's no guarantee we're going to be in the playoffs. We got to win a couple more games. You can see we are up 3.5 on Seattle for that third wild card spot, tied with the White Sox still, as we both lost today for the AL Central. But not going to put him on the IL. I am going to just kind of be a little more cautious with him. If his fatigue percentage is 95, just going to bench him. So I guess I could DH him, which might help a little bit, but then we'd be starting Muley in center field every day, which is okay, but definitely not optimal. Hopefully we can avoid a more significant injury to Velasquez here in these final days of the season. Got a W against Tampa Bay today, so that's good to even the series there. White Sox also won, so we're still tied. All three of us, again, 3.5 up on the Mariners as time is ticking away quickly on the Mariners season. Hopefully we can get the win in this deciding game today against Tampa Bay, take the series from them before hosting the Twins. 2-3 loss, so we dropped 2 out of 3 at home to Tampa Bay. Obviously not optimal. The Twins coming in now for the final 6 games of the season. You can see the White Sox and us have been doing the same thing the last 3 days, so still tied with them. Seattle 3 behind with 6 games to go. So it would be a big upset if we don't make the playoffs. But obviously our goal is to get the division title, so we'll be at home the first round of the playoffs. Wonder who Chicago is facing. And the White Sox are going to be at Colorado and then home against Detroit to finish the season. So looking at the standings there, Colorado, one of the worst teams in baseball, although they are on the road. And then Detroit is even worse than Minnesota. So, they've got an even easier schedule than us, but they do have some games on the road as opposed to us. So there's no excuses for us not taking at least 4 against Minnesota. Hopefully we can win 5 or 6, but we need to take 4 against Minnesota. And obviously if we take 4 against Minnesota, that will guarantee that we'll at the very least have a wild card spot. So let's kick off things against the Twins here on Friday night, September 17th, 2032. Hopefully we can get a win here. Hopefully my computer doesn't blow up. Yeah, 7-3 victory, so that is positive. Take a look at the box score. Gordon Graceffo with a decent game. Good relief from Dabovich and Goebel. Big day from Guerrero, 3 for 4 with 4 runs driven in. Had a double and a home run. Velasquez tripled for us, so it doesn't seem like his injury had too much of an impact on his running ability then. The White Sox dropped a game. The Mariners did win, but our magic number is down to 5 for the division, but still only up 1 on the White Sox, so we are still in a battle with them. Good to see the Rockies winning at least 1 game in that series. Hopefully the Rockies will get at least 1 more win over these last 2 games. And hopefully we can continue to get some wins against the Twins, because as much as we want to hope for the White Sox to lose, we control our own destiny. If we go out and win some games, it's not going to matter what the White Sox do at this point. So hopefully we can continue winning against Minnesota. Another easy win, 9-2. Let's see what happened with the White Sox. The White Sox lost again, so we're up 2 on them, and the Mariners also lost. So we are getting pretty close to clinching a wild card. Still 2 games behind the Angels for the second best record among a division winner, so that's going to be hard for us to get with only 4 games to go. So it looks like at this point we are likely headed towards a wild card game, but it also looks like at this point we are headed towards a wild card game as the division champions. Angelo Velasquez still banged up. But we've clinched the playoff spot now, so that is positive. The White Sox did win, so we haven't clinched the division yet, but worst case scenario is we end up in a wild card. Given that we're going to be playing shortly, I'm going to bench Velasquez. It may not be enough. His recovery time is unknown, but we are going to sit him out these last 3 games now that we've guaranteed that we're in the playoffs. Hopefully that rest will help him a little bit and he'll be healthy when we do get to the playoffs. Obviously there's no guarantees, but would be nice to clinch the division as soon as possible. But it's a good start in the series against the Twins, winning the first 3 games of the series. Lost, of course, as I start talking about that 2-1. Got a good pitching effort. Well, not a great pitching effort, but a respectable pitching effort from Lagerwell, who, as always, is going to pitch his 33 games this year. 3.46 ERA, 3.5 WAR, 370 Sierra. The 1-loss record of 10-9 is not quite vintage Caleb Lagerwell, but everything else is for his final line for the season. You can see he's now started 33 games for us, 6 consecutive seasons, and his ERAs in those seasons have ranged from the 3.46 this year to the 3.86 last year. So he is just an incredibly valuable and consistent pitcher. Unfortunately, tend to think he's going to opt out of his contract at the end of this year. We owe him $18 million for the last year of his contract next season. And I think he's absolutely worth more than that. Taking a look at the standings here, the White Sox did win, so our magic number is still 2, 1 game up on the White Sox with 2 games to go. They've clinched the playoffs now, so it's just a matter of whether we are the Angels are up 3 on us. So it's really just a matter of whether we are the number 3 seed in the American League as the AL Central champion, or likely the number 6 seed, or best case scenario, the number 5 seed, and a wild card team that's playing on the road. So we got home field advantage if we can win the division. Otherwise, we're playing on the road if we don't hold on. So these last couple games are absolutely important. Hopefully we can get things done against Minnesota today. Would like to be in a situation where we could start kind of positioning the pitching staff for the playoffs, but we're just not in that spot. Zach Jacobs going today. And then when did Borgman's already pitched? He pitched the good win a couple days ago. Lagerwell obviously just pitched. Graceffo was 4 days ago, so I think that means, Graceffo will be going in a potential 162nd game of the year, which, unless we win today and the White Sox lose today, that's the only way that game wouldn't mean anything. So let's see if we get to that point. It'd be nice to be able to, bench Graceffo if we win and the White Sox lose, just to have as much flexibility with our rotation for the wild card series. I feel like my computer is dying before our eyes, which is not optimal. It should not be taking this long to sim 1 game, even though we are near the end of the season. 10-6 loss in 10 games. Not optimal. Let's see what the White Sox did. And the White Sox did lose. That's the only thing that saves us. So the worst case scenario is we end up tied in the division with the White Sox. And I'm not sure what the tiebreaker would be, whether we would play another game or whether it would go to just win-loss record among those two teams or something else. Hopefully we don't get to that situation, but obviously we're going to go with Graceffo on the mound here in game 162 today. Lost to Minnesota, but we did get the championship of the AL Central, so obviously that means that the White Sox really fell apart and backed into the playoffs also. Oof. So we backed into the playoffs, so we will get a chance to defend the World Series title. Lost our last 3 of the season, but still held off the White Sox to win the AL Central. So looks like we'll probably be hosting the White Sox, as they've got the worst record of any of the wild cards. So that will be interesting to see what happens. But we're going to obviously focus on that in our next episode when we dig into the playoffs, and hopefully it will be a long one with a long run. Looking at the AL leaders, for the first time in, I guess, 3 seasons, we don't have a batting champ. For the first time in 3 seasons, we didn't lead the league in RBIs. Bobby Whitt Jr. with a 7 WAR. I think that might be the best WAR of his career. Nope, he was a 7.2 back in 2028. But really nice year, 297 batting average, 29 doubles, 24 homers, scored 88, drove in 75, stole 33 bases, continued to play good defense. The 141 OPS plus and 138 WRC plus are both the best numbers of Bobby Whitt Jr.'s career. So nice season for him. Should get him some MVP votes. Ben Borgman ended up 3rd in the league in ERA, 15-6. His first full year with the Royals, 2.97 ERA, 3.5 WAR, 3.41 Sierra. This is one that I feel good about. I don't love that we had to pay him $19.5 million a year, really on a prove-it contract, but he is a player who we took from Colorado, where he had been very pedestrian. He can see a 93 ERA plus and a 98 FIP minus. And our thought was just that getting him out of Colorado would make all the difference. And it really has. He's put up a 125 ERA plus, 65 FIP minus in 13 starts with us last year, and then we've talked about the season this year with a 143 ERA plus and an 85 FIP minus. So, finesse pitcher who throws in the high 80s with not the best movement in the world is likely to be a lot more successful in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City than he is in Denver, and that's been proven out. So I think that's been a good acquisition by us, and Borgman had a good year. As I mentioned, 3rd in the league in ERA, 3rd in the league in wins. And Tyler Bosma ended up tying for the lead in saves, even though I was constantly picking up relievers or bringing up relievers from the injured list that I hoped would replace him as closer. It was a sloppy season, 2-8 record to go with those 46 saves, and a 4.02 ERA is certainly not stellar. He did strike out 82 and 62 in 2/3 innings. So some positives and some negatives to take from this season, but the big news is that we are back in the playoffs. Plus 62 run differential was 4th in the American League, so we kind of got what we deserved. We're hosting a wild card game by virtue of holding off the White Sox to win the division. So it's going to be a tough road to win the championship again. We're going to have to win 4 series this year instead of 3, since we are playing in the wild card. And unlike last year, we don't have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. This wild card series here is likely going to be the only series where we will have home field. So big challenge ahead of the Royals in the playoffs, but we will tackle that in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.